I mentioned I'd be speaking with Joe Alvaro. I like to talk to volunteers that were engaged in Wesley Mission, and Joe's involved in Wesley Lifeline. And last year he was our Wesley Mission Volunteer of the Year, 20 years with Lifeline. That's quite some time, Joe. Joe, thanks for joining with us.
Thanks, Keith.
You've been volunteering for 20 years. How has it changed in that 20 years?
Well, Keith, I think it hasn't changed in many ways. The problems that faced Alan Walker when he started Lifeline are still with us today. Life is difficult. Life was difficult back then. It's difficult today for people, and we certainly get the same type of calls, I think, abuse and financial stress and relationship problems, addiction. They are there. In terms of it changing, I think it has now become more national service. So whereas it was centre-based, when I started, we do now have a national service and refined training program where we're doing things in a uniform fashion, and that has many benefits for Lifeline, I think.
And probably more technologically savvy than in those earlier days.
Indeed. Well, we used to write our reports after each call with a pen, and now, of course, we do it on computer.
Yeah. And why did you begin volunteering all those years ago?
Well, I was younger then, and I had finished university, and I wanted to put my faith in Jesus Christ into action, and I wanted to be a witness to the compassion of Jesus Christ. And I knew of the Christian roots of Lifeline, and I thought that Lifeline would be a great way to do that. The story of how Lifeline started inspired me. The death of Roy Brown and his letter to Alan Walker saying that by the time you find this letter, I'll be dead. And Alan Walker's vision to have an Australia free of suicide certainly inspired me as well.
And we've still a long way to go in that challenge, but it's organisations like Lifeline and others that are standing in that place. Now, I know you're a full-time teacher. I nearly said by day you do that and the other at other times, but are there similarities in what you do? Do they talk to each other, have contact with each other in your mind?
Well, I think I'm actually a better teacher as a result of Lifeline.
Right.
And certainly what I've learnt at Lifeline, I've applied to in the school, in the classroom, and dealing with students. Because Lifeline does give you that ability to listen with the intent to understand. And a lot of the listening we do in society is with the intent to reply and tell people what to do. Whereas that listening with the intent to understand and really get to the deep understanding of what is happening in someone's life is really powerful. So I've actually applied that to the classroom and in dealing with young people.
Not just practicing the answer before you've even got the statement out.
Yes, and being more silent. I mean, the letters in the word listen are the same letters as the word silent.
Yes.
So silence can be very powerful, and that's not a lot of what we get when people are listening to us.
What's to you has been the most heart-wrenching kind of situation you've found yourself in terms of a call or something that's happened?
Well, I think the suicide calls are always very challenging, and people who don't have any hope to and want to kill themselves, and every life matters, as we saw in the video, and it's always distressing to think that somebody could end their life. So what is important to me is the training I've received and applying that to the callers who are suicidal.
So I suppose the flip side is that you've seen also some very pleasing experiences and listened to people's lives turning around.
Absolutely. I mean, the model we use at Lifeline consists of 3 levels. We connect with the caller, and that is really important, developing that relationship in the short amount of time we've got during a call. And then we have the relieve distress aspect of the practice model, and that is powerful, because when people can release their feelings and identify them, and when they're reflected back to them, when those feelings can be explored, that can build hope in the caller as well. And then we have the third level of the practice model, which is enable coping, which really gets people to think about the resources available to them. So
And even as somebody on this side of the phone, as it were, you've got to cope with it too, haven't you?
Absolutely. And look, generally it's stimulating work, it's very satisfying work. I mean, doing good is good for you.
Yeah.
And I've certainly gained a lot from Lifeline. In fact, I think I've gained more than I've given. But yes, it is exhausting work as well, and self-care is really important. And at Lifeline we do have a lot of support, both in terms of individual and group supervision, but there's also a lot of advanced training that happens, because it's a work really that you need to be on a continuous path of improvement to do the work, because it's very complex work.
A quick question. Somebody's sitting on the fence. They're wondering, should I volunteer? Should I give my time? What would you say to them?
Well, Keith, I think if they're willing to listen to people with the intent to understand, they will be doing something very significant for people in crisis. It was Carl Rogers who said, listening rightly done is the most significant thing you can do for another human being. So if they're willing to make that commitment to people walking in difficult times, and commit to walk with them in those difficult times, I tell them, go for it. Lifeline gets a call every 10 to 20 seconds. So we do need them here. If they're also willing to make a commitment to suicide prevention, I encourage them also to take up the training, which is a fantastic training program. As you know, Keith, the suicide rate in Australia is really high, with 7 people killing themselves every day in Australia. But I believe without Lifeline, the suicide rate would be much higher in Australia.
And thank you for that testimony, and most of all for the fact that you feel you get more out of it than you ever gave.
Absolutely.
I think that's the heart of Christian service of any kind, isn't it?